Letitia, I think you have the floor.
Okay. So let me just take off my patch and talk briefly. I have a problem with my eyes, so yeah, good morning to you all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are welcome to today's webinar, which is being hosted by various women networks. We believe that it's time for us to come together. This is not more of just presentation, but it's a dialogue where we are expecting every person, participant here to be part of. So you're all welcome. And before we start, Dr. Rose, who is the moderator, will give us the background of whatever we have to do here. And so I will talk briefly. She will talk about who the conveners are, and then talk and give us a background to the those present to participate in this, who convene this program. Yeah, so Dr. Rose is the Senior Director of Business and Director of Technical and Business Development at the sorry, my machine seems to be freezing now. Senior Director, Business and Scientific Services in the National Water and Sewage Corporation in Uganda. Apart from that, she also acts as the second vice president of the African Water and Sanitation Association, AFWAZA, and also stands in as the board member of the International Water Association, which is IWA. So without much ado, I want to invite Dr. Rose here to set the ball rolling on why the purpose for which we are here, and then also to take us through the program. You're welcome, Dr. Rose.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Letitia. Greetings to all from us who are here physically in Stockholm and to the rest of you across the globe. We are here at the Stockholm World Water Week in a relatively cold Stockholm. And so I envy those I left behind in Africa who are enjoying the sunshine. But as we look and progress with what is happening in the world regarding the water and sanitation sector, we've had a couple of global events, and the big one that stood out in March at the UN conference, that reminded us all of the gloomy statistics that we have on the globe. 2.2 billion people without access to water, 3.5 without access to sanitation. We have those who still don't have any access to toilets, and the figures are gloomy. And yet we are trying to sprint towards 2030 with an aim of attaining the SDG, and it goes in particular SDG 6. When I saw the Spanish team head back home with joy, having not even thought that they stood a chance of getting to the finals and coming back with the cup, I was reminded of one thing, that when women put their mind to it, we can actually do a lot. And perhaps the reason why we have not moved towards attaining the SDGs is because the women have not yet played their role, or we have not maximized our potential. We've looked at the water and sanitation sector, the space, the workspace, and we still see a big imbalance in terms of numbers of women who are working in the sector. We have looked at those who are in the research fields, And again, there's a big imbalance, and figures are posting us at about 20% or even less. And yet, when we flip the coin the other way around, and we look at the number of people who are actually fetching water or walking miles to look for water, the greater percentage are women and girls. The UN conference came up with very many commitments, over 800 commitments. And we are discussing how do we action those commitments? How do we accelerate progress towards those commitments, and trying to enable us sprint to the finish line where we will say we have made success and achieved the SDGs. We've this week talked here in Stockholm a lot about how to bring investment into place, how to look for money, and how to build capacities. And I'm happy that today we will discuss and delve into the issues of women. We have lined up for you a number of speakers and panelists who are going to bring across to us, first of all, to understand where we are and what we can do. What can we do better? What are we doing? What is the status quo? We're going to look at what can we actually do from experiences that are being shared across the globe. And I hope that as we try to answer these questions, we shall also be able to set the roadmap for the next day, the next months, the next years. Today, we realized it's 150 days since the UN commitments, since the UN conference, and we were challenging ourselves. What have we really done? So as women, we want to delve into this. And as we do that, would like to thank the African Water Association, the International Water Association, the Women in Water and Sanitation Network, the Women for Water Partnership, and the Sustainable Sanitation Alliance, Susanna, without whom this session wouldn't or would not be taking place. Again, I hope that in future, we'll be able to have face-to-face sessions, and as opposed to just having an online session. Again, it means there is so much more that we can do. I want to encourage you to get as excited as many of you were watching the finals of the World Cup, and hope that as we end this session within this 1 hour, we'll be rejuvenated, we'll be given a new purpose to go back and make our contribution as we duly should. With that, I would like to welcome you to the session, and to know that each one of you who has joined us is very important. We'll encourage you to put your questions in the chat box as the session goes along, and also be mindful that we do have under an hour to complete this session. I have spoken on behalf of myself and also Sylvain Usha, the Executive Director, who was unable to join us. And at this juncture, I'd like to hand over to Jacqueline to lead us through the next session. Thank you very much and enjoy the hour. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Jacqueline Muthura. I am a gender and WASH specialist, and I have the privilege of facilitating the next exercise. We want to get to know you and where you're joining us from. Please go to your tab or please open a new tab on your browser. This can be on your phone or on your laptop, and type in www.menti.com. Please type in the code at the top of this screen, which is 82711324. Once you have the map on your screen, you can move the dot above the country you're joining us from and click submit. Thank you so much. I can see 8 students already have identified where they are. We have people joining from the US, from Brazil, a bit from Europe, quite a number from Africa. Thank you so much. You can also scan the code at the bottom left of the screen if you want to get the survey. Thank you very much. We have about quite a number coming in from Europe. I think these are the people who are also at Stockholm. A number coming in from India, South Africa, Thank you so much. You have a bit more time to type in your location. Please put in your location. We have about 10 people. I see we have 21 people online, a few more people coming in. Thank you so much. I see we have experts joining us from across the globe, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much. Allow me to move on to the next exercise because of time. And next, we want to know, where are you working in the water sector? Are you working in water governance and regulatory institutions? Or are you working in academia and research? Are you an engineer, chemist, or technician in operations and technical department? You could also be in top leadership in senior management of water institutions, organizations, or utilities. You could also be working in customer relations, HR, finance, or administration. Thank you. I see quite a number in the other section. We have a number. Please remember you have the option of selecting more than one option. So you could be in senior management, but you're also in governance and regulation. Thank you very much. A few more answers to respond to. We have a few in senior management, a few also, just one in admin and HR, finance, and customer relations. This also gives us an idea of how spread we are in the water sector. Thank you so much. Any more? We have about 29 people online. Thank you. So the highest number is in the other category. Please type in the chat. Maybe if you are in the other category, where would you place yourself in the water sector? If you're in the other category, please type it in the chat. Where would you place yourself in the water sector? But all in all, we have an exciting mix in the audience, and I see we have a diverse group of participants, both geographically and professionally. And we always say that the more diverse the team, the better the performance. So we expect a very enriching discussion today. Thank you so much for your indulgence. You have been a wonderful audience. We want to move on to the key issues that we want to address this day. What are some of the barriers that women professionals face? We can see we have women in governance, we have women in senior management, we have women in HR and finance, we have women across the sector. But if we would like to reflect on the barriers that women face in this sector, as a woman, what challenges do you experience while working in the water sector? And if we also have men in the room, what challenges have you seen your female colleagues experience in your office, your department, or your organization? I will give you a few seconds to type in your answer using 1 or 2 words. Please share with us some of these barriers you encounter as a woman, or you see women facing. I see one issue of childcare and family work balance. This brings in the issues of time. Any more responses? Thank you. The issues of equal pay and the pay gap. There are issues of lack of trust. There is sexism, which lends to norms and practices and policies as well. Personal balance sheet, we see issues of education, one of the key resources that we need. We see issues of discrimination and the idea of a glass ceiling. Thank you so much. We see issues of childcare coming back again. We see a lot of biases and stereotypes. A little bit more, let's say we see sexual harassment coming on very strongly, discrimination coming on very strongly, issues of education as well, and intimidation coming on very strongly. A little bit on training and inferiority complex. Some would call it also imposter syndrome, wage inequality, which lends to pay gap, and so on and so forth. So we see structural challenges relating to norms, practices, policies, issues of even critical consciousness. Are people aware of these inequalities, which has to do also with mentalities, stereotypes and attitudes. We also see issues of resources and even agency. Thank you so much for that. So we see the 4 primary issues coming in: family and work balance, the time issue, discrimination, intimidation, mansplaining, sexual mansplaining, sexual harassment, and equal pay challenges. Thank you for that. That was a very quick exercise. And finally, now that we have seen some common challenges that women face, we want to know what should be done about it. How should these barriers be addressed? How should we address these issues and create a more equitable water sector? As Dr. Kagwa has said, what can we actually do? So for this question, you have a few more words. Please share your ideas. What do you think should be done to address these challenges? Any ideas? How do you think we should address these challenges, these issues of sexual harassment, these issues of discrimination, these issues of pay gap, these issues of norms and stereotypes? Yes, thank you very much. Focus on retention and advancement, and not just attracting. So we need to move beyond attracting, move on to retention and advancement. Develop women-specific activities or initiatives. Yes, focusing on recruitment and retention. I agree with you, more visibility for qualified women and break up boys clubs, because women are contributing a lot to development, but we are also shy in bragging about what we are doing. You know, women are supposed to be expected to be quiet, but we want to make women's contribution more visible and more visibility of qualified women. I really like that. Mentorship, and I'm sure some of the networks will be sharing on what they've been doing on mentorship this year. Training and coaching. Of course, we need to talk about agency building, capacity building, agency and confidence as well. Sharing your stories. Thank you very much. We have quite an array of powerful women in the room, and I hope they will also be sharing their stories. Name and shame to address the sexual harassment that is going on. Transparent payment, I believe, to address the pay gap. Any more ideas? Thank you very much. With that, I want to just summarize that it is essential that we take on a holistic and system approach where we address the critical domains of we address the critical domains of gender equality, including the structures, the norms, the practices, and the policies, addressing issues of agency, addressing issues of critical awareness of inequalities, addressing the physical and mental well-being of female workers. And that requires us that we address these sexual harassment issues, access to resources, as we're talking about issues of equal pay, and even social capital for us to be able to access mentorship and even see these role models that we're talking about. So thank you so much for your participation. You have been a very excellent group. Thank you for your candid thoughts, which provide us feedback, even as we prepare for the 10th World Water Forum in Bali and future gender events. Please give yourself a celebratory emoji as I hand you back over to Dr. Letitia. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Dr. Rose. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you all. We would like to now move to Daphne, and just for her to note that we are running a bit behind schedule, so we need to catch up with time. Thank you. Daphne, over to you.
Thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here today at this very important session, especially as a young water professional. I'm really going to give you a quick introduction of women in the water sector, and I'd also like to introduce you to an exciting tool, which is the Equal Aqua tool. And with that, I'd like to focus more on recent data from the Women in Water database, which underscores that there is still lower female recruitment rates, with women still comprising only 20 to 24% of employees, engineers, or managers. And you could really tell, like, from the Mentimeter pool and also from the global evidence, that there are still so many barriers for female professionals, and that can have so many different reasons, including discrimination, sexual harassment, women not having the same opportunities as men to advance in their careers, women still being often concentrated in administrative positions, and women being excluded from technical occupations, ranging to barriers to start and advance their careers in the water sector, including biases in the hiring process, inadequate family-friendly workplaces, and also fewer training opportunities. And that is where Equal Aqua comes in, which is a platform to support gender diversity in the water and sanitation sector, to address the challenge, which is that women are still underrepresented in water and sanitation workforce. And as you can see here in my slides, this is true at all stages of employment, of the employment cycle. It is true in the attraction to the wash sector. It is true in the recruitment stage. It is true in the retention and the advancement to higher level positions. That's why Equal Aqua comes in. It was established by the World Bank's Water Global Practice with the support of the Global Water Security and Sanitation Partnership, and also in collaboration with some external partners. Now I'd like just quickly to give you an idea what the Equal Aqua includes. It is based on 3 pillars. The first one is focused on data collection and benchmarking to increase the global knowledge and the evidence around gender diversity in the water and sanitation institutions. The second pillar is then focused on operational support and country engagement. And the last and third pillar is about providing a space for partners and utilities and other stakeholders to learn about and exchange knowledge on good practices and approaches to support inclusion. Yes, and then maybe you might now wonder what are all the tools and resources on Equal Aqua. And the way it works is that a utility or an institution fill out a short HR survey and then receives a confidential score that will help them to compare themselves to their country, to a region, or globally. And this information then collected through the HR survey will then be captured, will capture general HR survey, HR data, meaning data on the female and male employees and also their level of employment. And it also captures information on gender-related HR policies and programs such as family-friendly arrangements, such as flexible work or maternity leave. And it also captures institutional work environment, such as other like separate toilets for men and women. And the data collected through these HR surveys, they are all anonymously and then fed into a global database. And currently this database is one of the largest global databases on women in the water sector and sanitation sector. And at the moment, there are more than 160 institutions that have been benchmarked so far. Yes. And then lastly, in terms of learning and capacity building, the platform also offers webinars and trainings through the Equal Aqua Forum. And it also helps and supports to showcase good practice cases to enhance gender diversity in institutions. And finally, it also offers loads of online courses and modules. With that, I'm already closing my presentation, and I hope that if you're now eager to also foster gender equality and change these statistics, you can use Equal Aqua and transform problems to solutions and make a difference. So if you want to take a first step and get started, then simply email equalaqua@worldbank.org to get started. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daphne. It has been really insightful to learn about the Equal Aqua project or initiative or project. I would like to just jump in right to our next section where we discuss and learn about women in the workforce. What can we do? Different organizations will tell us their approach, what they have in mind and a plan for breaking the barriers for the women in the water sector. The first speaker will be Neil Dodd. He is Executive Director of AguaFed, the International Federation for Private Water Operators, and we will learn about the World Water and Sanitation Workforce Initiative. The floor is yours. And I'm sorry, it's 4 minutes only speaking time because we're already running late. I keep track of the time.
Thank you, Ulrika. Thanks, everyone. I'll try and do it in about 2 minutes, to be honest, because the great things about, well, one of the great things about attending these types of events is that you work out there's other people doing similar things and there's similar synergies. And everything that we heard Daphne just said was music to my ears, because we're working on very similar work. So what Aquafed is doing at the moment, and Aquafed is the Federation of Private Operators, but whether it's private or public, we're dealing with the same issue. So discount the fact that I'm working with the private operators. We are looking at basically how utility managers and service managers guide young people, both men and women, in their careers right from the start to the finish, how they recruit and then how they retain young people. So to make sure that we are getting the best young people into our sector. And the aim of our project is to create guidance for utility managers on how to do that. And I think Daphne's research has really highlighted some of the issues. And we've also just carried out research, and that was done by the Rural Water Supply Network. And you'll be hearing from Melissa, who will be talking about something else in a minute. But Melissa's organization carried out some brilliant research for us just now for this project. And we basically found 4 key problems, quite frankly, at this stage. There's just not enough work opportunities for young people. And if you take the fact that we're talking about young people, you can absolutely guarantee that if it's bad enough for young men, it's going to be even worse for young women. For example, there's about nearly half the utilities we surveyed have no kind of structured approach to recruiting young people at all, whether they're men or women. And I think less than 20% of staff in utilities and wash services are under the age of 35. So for young people coming in, and take that as young women particularly, there is a huge problem here, in that we are simply not able to attract the best, most talented people into young people into our sector. There's too many barriers, and I think Daphne was mentioning that just now as well. But lots of unrealistic expectations, like utility managers asking people for 2 or 3 years experience, but no one's willing to give those young people experience in the first place. So they're just caught in a trap, basically, and there's just no way into the sector that way. And something that came out of the survey we did just now, that we did just at the start of this session, what came out clearly was mentoring and development is really, really important. Mentoring and training and coaching, but specifically mentoring, because that's quite a deep commitment, and that's, I think, the most effective. And there's lack of any structured mentoring and training development opportunities for young people in our sector as well, in many, many utilities and services. So overall, what we're faced is that we are not able to get the best people in the first place, because they want to go and work for other places instead, because they don't see us as a sustainable long-term place to work. And the ones we're finding a lot of young people who are in our sector that they want to get out because they just don't feel their job is secure. So that's the problem that we've highlighted now. And again, the GIZ, the World Bank research, absolutely reinforces, I think we're reinforcing what each other are saying. Now we've got the difficult job in the next few months is to actually create some guidance for utility managers on to try and turn that around, and practical steps to do. So this is where we're going to really, really need your help in the next few months. Our project is far from over. We've done the research now, and we'll be publishing that on 7th of September to get all the statistics. So look out for the Sanitation and Water for All partnership advert, because they're going to host the 2 webinars for us, one in Latin America and one in an African-based one. And yeah,
4 minutes.
4 minutes over. Okay, Julia, there was a question in the chat. I'll answer that in the chat, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go with our next speaker, which is Leticia Akun from the Afwasa Women Network. She will present her network. She is the gender specialist at the African Water Association. The floor is yours, Leticia, and also 4 minutes only. I'm sorry for the time pressure.
Thank you, Yulik. Yeah, so I'm presenting on behalf of Afwasa, what we are doing through the Women Network to empower women in the wash sector. I mean, the data already speaks for itself. So what we are doing, because we are a utility-based organization, is how we build capacity so that women can climb up the ladder, because as Daphne said, that we don't find them at the management level. So we do capacity building of our women in leadership skills. And through that, we have some of our women being promoted into senior management presently. And we also engage them in public speaking skills. So when we have opportunities like this, we encourage them to submit papers, chair functions like international conferences, be part of speakers, and also serve as panelists. So in all this, it is more of coaching system that we undertake, and to ensure that these women are there when we need them to also act, because sometimes it's a matter of encouraging and mentoring and coaching to make sure that they also have the skills and the confidence. Also, in our network system, every country has a national chapter. So each country has their own executives. And through this chapter system, people are building their leadership skills in either being the president of the network at the local level, or the secretary, playing different roles. And through that, they are building their capacity. And also in proposal writing, we are encouraging them on how they can source for funding for their programs and activities. And that has led to individual networks, not all though, but a few are able to do their own fundraising, writing proposals, and I think it's a step in the right direction. And also when it comes to mentorship and coaching skills, because they are seen as mentors in their various organizations, what we are doing is using them to go reach out and then pair up with the young professionals and also mentor them. And we have either within the utilities across networks, where we have a network mentoring another network, which is very weak, those who are doing very well, mentoring the others who are weak on how they can progress in their network. And also we reach out to, they do role modeling for girls in STEM. So they reach out to schools and then have sometimes we organize an open day in schools where they have the opportunity to interact with girls, the women engineers, those in the technical, the management level, any level, have the opportunity to interact with the girls, whereby the girls are able to appreciate the fact that science is something that is interesting and have variety of programs that they can go into before they reach the senior level and also the tertiary level. We also have the networking as one of our major roles in trying to build the capacity of the women networks. So we encourage them to do, even though we have not done the benchmarking visits per network, they do it online, where they solicit for each other's support when they're having programs, where each other speaks on topics that is relevant to them. So I think for now, this is what I would say about our women network, how we are empowering them to also be able to reach their maximum capacity, even in their various fields. Thank you.
Thank you. You're on the point, 4 minutes. Thank you very much, Leticia. This has been very, very interesting to learn about what an established network does for women. And now we meet Melissa Norton from the Rural Water and Sanitation Network. The floor is yours, Melissa. 4 minutes for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ulrika. My name is Melissa. I work for the Rural Water Supply Network, and we've actually been running a mentoring program since 2019. And initially, the mentoring program only targeted young professionals. And since 2021, we have opened the mentoring program for women of all ages. This is something that is perhaps not well known in the sector. People still think that our mentoring program is only for young professionals, but we welcome women of all ages as mentors and mentees. However, the mentoring program more broadly is open to men as well. So we have, at the moment this year, mentees and mentors from over 70 countries. So it's a global mentoring program. We don't do the matchmaking, RWSN acts as a point of contact for the mentoring program, but we use a software called Pushfar, which is a little bit like LinkedIn, but with an element of a dating app where you can choose who your mentor and mentee will be. So this enables mentees and mentors to look for a partner, like a mentoring partner themselves. And we don't do the matchmaking anymore because we found it was too difficult, because we don't know all the participants individually, and also very resource intensive to do the matchmaking by hand. We used to do it in the first 2 years. We've always, since the beginning, strongly encouraged women to be mentors and mentees. And if you can see in the box here, we have 250 participants this year. And this is the breakdown in terms of female and male participants. So overall, we have 45% women and 55% men. And particularly in terms of young professionals, we have more female young professionals than men young professionals. But then when it comes to mentors, we have more male mentors than female mentors. And this has been the same since we started the mentoring program in 2019. What we have seen, and some research, we have research that shows that mentoring has been shown to improve promotion and retention for women and for underrepresented groups overall, not specifically in the water sector. But we have seen the impact of this mentoring program on participants, men, women, mentees, and mentors throughout the years. So we now have, over 1,000 mentors and mentees who've been through the program. Our challenge has been to measure that impact. So we often know about the impact of mentoring on mentors and mentees through anecdotal evidence. So it's a little bit of a challenge for us to try and see how we can be a bit more systematic in how we measure the impact of the mentoring program for participants. A few points I want to highlight. So women, there was a very strong demand for mentoring. So this year we opened the mentoring program in April, and within 1 week it was full. We had filled all 150 spaces in the mentoring program. We opened it for an extra 100 places, and it was again filled within a few days. So there is an incredible amount of people who are in need of this, and very limited spaces. So often this is one constraining factor to going to scale on mentoring. Another constraining factor is that all of our mentors are volunteers. So we are incredibly lucky because every year we've opened the mentoring program, we've had amazing individuals from the water sector, female and men, who volunteered as mentors on this program. We wouldn't be able to do it without them. However, it is also a constraining factor in that this year we have 1/3 of participants that are mentors and 2/3 mentees. We always have way more demand from mentees than mentors. So in order, again,
some final words, please.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So if we want to take mentoring to scale, which we think is needed for the water sector, we need to discuss these challenges perhaps in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. And I switch over to our next speaker, who is Kavita Vankede from IWA Young Water Professionals. And she works for the Indian Institute of Human Settlements. The floor is yours, Kavita, please.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. This is Kavita speaking from India. So just a one-line introduction about IWA. I think everybody would know, but IWA, International Water Association, is one of the largest network of water professionals spread across 140 countries. And it's also trying to bridge the theory, practice, research gap by engaging with scientists and researchers, as well as people from water utilities. And I'll come back to why this is important. Before I jump to gender and speaking about what IWA has done, I do want to say that one of the strategic objectives of IWA is broadly DEI. And I bring this up because I think what's been coming out, but could come out more strongly, is that, of course, when you're talking about women in the workforce, there are many divisions and it's not equal. The discrimination is not equal. And one of the priorities of IWA going forward is to actually have membership, men and women, from low and middle income countries, and making sure to encourage authorships in journals, IWA journals from LIMC. And this is great because, as we know, there is a knowledge disbalance as well. So I just want to say that the work around women is in the broader context of actually creating a more equal membership within IWA. As far as before moving on to the youth initiatives, three things I want to mention. One is, of course, IWA is trying for gender balance as membership, particularly gender minorities. That's one thing. Second, we have instituted an award for gender and diversity. And I think that's important to recognize people who have been working on this issue. As we all know, there's a lot of work to be done on this. And one very important initiative that I want to mention is around it's limited to sanitation. It's inclusive urban sanitation, but and it's a place where you can get guidance and case studies for inclusive sanitation. And the reason I mentioned this particularly is when we talk about women in the workforce, we talk about a lot of women, but we often don't talk about informal women who get left out from the equation. And I want to speak about our experience as IHS. We've been doing a lot of work with women on the ground, whether it's sanitation workers, whether it's self-help groups who look after lots and lots of public and community toilets where we work. And we've also been documenting their tales in a Women in Sanitation campaign, which we run, which highlights, stories of women. Now, what IW has done and the Inclusive Urban Sanitation has given us a platform to put that out there. And in a way, celebrating stories of informal women workers who often don't become part of this equation of networks and mentorship. So that's a little bit about that. And finally, just a minute to conclude with the youth engagement thing. I think a lot of people here have spoken about the need to work with young people, men and women who may be facing a lot of challenges. And for this, IWA has a youth water professionals network. It's for anybody who's under the age of 35, and it gives access to a lot of fomenters, which the previous speakers have spoken to, but also to various specialist groups, memberships, etc., discounts. So that's again for men and women. But two things is, one is that IWA is trying to get the membership to be gender balanced. And secondly, and more importantly, the steering committee of this YWP is already gender balanced. Once more, the issues that the IWA network has felt is about getting balance, both in terms of gender, but also to ensure that there are equal number of women from low and middle income countries. And yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just our time saver. I switch over to our next speaker, who is Mariette, the president of the Women for Water Partnership. Please, the floor is yours, Mariette. Hello, I saw that you're here. I think. Mariette, are you here? Can you hear us? I see that this here. I see that she connected. Something is happening.
Yeah, can you unmute yourself, Mariette? Julia, can you unmute her if she's unable to?
Oh, I'm sorry, but I was muted by you lot, so I couldn't actually touch it. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway, to start immediately and save some time is what we have found out is that at all levels, the water sanitation field lacks capacity and a skilled workforce to address the huge challenges to achieve SDG 6. We all know that we are not on track. And the human rights to water and sanitation, of course, are included in there. So women are still a minority in the water and sanitation workforce. We can see that in many reports. And they are also a minority in the development community as well as at local, basin, and national level. So while gender balanced workplaces are a key to success, most workplaces remain male-dominated, challenging, and unattractive for female professionals, resulting in a high gender gap. Of course, one of the reasons is also the equal pay issue, but all within the water sector. or the water community, as they would like to call it now, both from an equality perspective as well as a labor market and human resource perspective. It is very, very important to close this gap. The definition of mentoring is when someone shares their knowledge, their skills, their experience with other people or a person to help them to progress. This can be done individually, in groups, through company niche programs. But the aim of our mentoring initiative is to reach more equality and address the capacity gap in the sector by encouraging early and mid-career women of all ages, youth and older women, to enter and stay in the sector through coming back to the sector, through linking women and supporting career development via this mentoring. So in this phase, preparatory work will be done by our initiative, as well as a pilot to gain experience for a rollout in the near future. So Women for Water, together with several women's organizations, all present here, and existing general programs across the globe, have set up this initiative. And an important highlight for us was the joint working conference with 8 of these organizations involved in London. And we will assess the existing mentoring scheme in comparable sectors, in health, IT, energy, and others, of course, by companies and by women's networks. So our initiative will reach out to those women networks that seem the most applicable and viable to cooperate with. So if you think, one of you was listening in, that you can contribute to that, please get in touch with us. And we're going to figure, of course, criteria and jobs of mentees, because there are different languages, areas, entry of education. Important is that there will be a communication strategy developed to reach mentors and mentees. And promoting our program, what we need to do is, of course, use sessions like this at the World Water Week in Stockholm, but all international events, especially in Bali. We're coming back to that later. That's vital for updating our information, for funding, for data collection, and more. So in the second phase of our program, we will develop a pilot mentoring scheme for women working in the water and sanitation.
4 minutes are over, Marit. I'm sorry.
Okay. And
some last words.
Mentoring is important. Everyone can see the positive results when mentoring is initiated, and you've heard that. And I hope you will be interested and join us in our project. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Marit, and all the other speakers. We have now the interactive questions and answering section. I would like to hand over back to Rose for handling the questions and the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ulrich, and all the speakers. We have very few minutes, so I'm just going to pose one question to each of those speakers, because I haven't seen anything in the chat. How do we position women in water and sanitation, job-wise? How do we bring this into the discussion as we go into the different global events and also local events that are going to happen in the next few months? I'll start with Neil. Your quick thoughts, if you can give that answer in 1 minute or less.
Yeah, hi Rose. So thanks for the question. What I think we shouldn't do too much now is talk about this issue at a high level too much anymore. And I don't think, I'm not a woman, but if I was a woman, I'd be pretty sick and tired of hearing people telling me that, oh yeah, there's a problem with gender inequality. You know that already, and the data already backs it up, right? So let's get to the solutions. I think someone earlier mentioned about sharing stories. That was one of the things that came out in the Mentimeter. And I think that's really, really important. We've got to show, rather than it being presented as a problem and negative all the time, there are women out there who are doing brilliant jobs, who are in the roles, and they are showing the value of why you need more women in the sector. And let's focus on those positive stories. You know, my companies that I represent, the two biggest ones have their women are CEOs, right? CEOs are women. So right from that level, right all the way down, we need to promote the positive stories much more. And specifically, I think we need to focus on the commitments that have been made in the water action agenda and actually hold people to account on whether they're going to deliver them or not. So all these kind of gender focused commitments, let's get to the reality. Are they being focused on or not? Because that's not just saying, oh yeah, we have lots of commitments. Let's actually drill down and have some proper accountability and take people responsibility for delivering them. But I think really, like I said, it's now time to, wherever we can, stop relying on politicians and stop relying on other people to try and fix this problem. We need to fix it ourselves and get where there are willing utility managers, for example, who are more progressive, work with them to really help them to increase the gender equality in their organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. The same question will go to Kavita, the young water professional. Neil has said things we should not do. What are your thoughts? Thanks.
I think I totally agree with the point on sharing positive stories. I do think we have to share stories of women who have already made it and how that can be used. But I also feel a more important point is in many programs and in many, I think the discussion between women working professionals and between, say, when you're talking about inclusion and gender and you're talking about things like access to water and sanitation, I think those conversations often get separated out. And I think it's very important that when we're talking about gender and in social inclusion within the context of water and sanitation, I think the issue of women workforce should come right and center. It's incredible. I've been to many sessions where we talk about inclusion, gender inclusion in programs, and we don't talk about workforce. So I do think that's one thing that I would recommend, that we make this issue more strong. And the second thing, I do think that we have to get diversity of voices in. This might mean reaching out to women professionals who are considered not in the formal sector, people who may not be speaking English. And I think we have to make that effort to get more and more voices. So those would be my two suggestions.
Thank you, Kavita, for raising that and also reminding us of the voice of those who are not necessarily professional, but are the actual group that is actually larger than those who are professional. And therefore, as we move towards trying, to get to the SDGs, we have to move along with that group. Melissa, you talked a lot about mentorship, and this is something we've talked about. You highlighted the tools that are being used, and some stories of what is going on. How do you think in the next few months we can actually move from just talking about it, seeing a few success stories using a tool, but have this happening on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I want to highlight also, I agree with what everyone before me was saying about the need to have more stories of showing positive results and impact. We really want to measure the impact of what the mentoring program is. People often, we often fail to see what the impact of mentoring can be. It's difficult for us to know. It's only when we meet participants online or at these events that we realize how much of an impact mentoring can have on their lives. This includes women, but not only women. And I also agree with one of the comments I think Louisa made in the chat box. Our mentoring program is not just for women, so men and women, and it's incredibly empowering to have women mentor men as well, and to give women the choice of who they want to be mentored by or who they want to mentor. So we really advocate for more research, perhaps more use of data to show impacts on women in terms of recruitment and retention, to better monitor that impact. We're trying to do this, so we probably could do with some help. But yeah, there is a lot to say about what this means in terms of the impact on women in the sector.
Thank you. And now I'm going to throw both Mariette and Letitia a bit off from what you think I may ask you. So Letitia, you shared a lot of what's going on in the networks in Africa. And yet, when we look at the population, the greater percentage of people who are not served, again, are in Africa. What more can these networks do? And for Marriott, how can the northern countries, what more can the women from the north do for those in the south? So we'll start with Letitia. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. Yeah. So for the women networks, I think apart from they being empowered to do mentorship and coaching, another area where they are working is within their utilities, how they are ensuring that there is even what presently is being served is being utilized very well. So giving education to users on how to save water safety. So they are not going into just enriching them. So they go beyond the women network. They go into communities to educate the public on water safeties and also minimizing waste within the sector, so that even the few that is provided can reach out to them. Some are also working with other NGOs on how to assist rural communities gain access to water. So their work is now not limited to just the utility. So after they've empowered to do what? Apart from you rising in the sector, what change are you also going to, what addition are you going to make? In some instances, they are helping the utilities to raise about their operations on revenue collection. It's come out that when women go on task force to on revenue collection, they come up with more results compared to the men. So in some of our network, is the women network that have gang themselves as workforce people who go out and to encourage people to pay. People are not paying, not because they think they don't have to, but they have issues. So when the women get to them and explain the need to do that, people have found it worthy to do that. So I think we are going beyond that, and we are also looking at the links to the low income units. We are looking at how vulnerable women in these communities are reached with the facility, though they don't have the income. How can we support them so that they can also have access to water? So so there's some of the things that we are doing on the side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Marriott, any thoughts?
Yes, I will be very short. I think we've already said a lot of things. Neil came up with a number of things that I think role models we can, as Northern organizations, although we represent the global organizations, we can support them through our networks, through talking to organizations to try and find funding to get this off the ground, and to make sure that we all work together, because I think that is one of the main things. We, in these days and age, we cannot do it on our own. We have to work together, and the African women have to sort of support the African people in their workforce, the Asian women there, because the colonial attitude is a long time past. So, but together we have to find a path to be able to actually do that. So I think that is that will be our task, to support you, all of you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to let the members know, we have 10 extra minutes that we have been given. I was trying to look at the chat group if there's any question that has popped up. And some are not for answering, but Lillian says, I've had several approaches to mentoring with many possibilities of enrichment to enhance the quality of outcomes. How are we aligning these beautiful interventions? We need statistics on outcomes. I think that's what Marriott was saying, that we can share. And others are saying we need to talk more about the gender issue in the workforce. because there are attitudes and practices to address, and keep reminding people the gender issue is important. That is from Annie. We will stop here with the questions unless there's one that is burning. Leonette's hand is up. So can we have a question from Leontine? Very quickly. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question? Léontine, Kofi?
Oui, oui. Bonjour à tous, je suis Léontine. Je suis connectée depuis le début de la session. Je voudrais plutôt réagir sur la question de Madame Rose qui posait la problématique de savoir comment positionner les femmes. Je regardais sur les participants que nous sommes 63 et on peut compter le nombre de monsieur, le nombre d'hommes qui participent à cette session. Il y en a très peu, pas plus de 10. Et je dis que notre message ne doit pas rester entre nous femmes. Il faudrait qu'on puisse s'adresser également à une large tribune d'hommes, parce que si on veut des gens pour nous faire la place, pour nous défendre et pour poser le problème sur la table des réflexions ou des décisions, il faudrait que les hommes aussi prennent part, qu'on ait des champions qui prennent aussi part à la cause des femmes. Et la plateforme des femmes, c'est vrai, on s'entraide entre nous, on fait beaucoup de choses, de bonnes choses d'ailleurs. Il faudrait qu'on puisse associer suffisamment d'hommes pour, à la limite, être nos avocats auprès des institutions, des instances, pour que la voix des femmes porte. Et c'est cela que je voulais apporter sur la question que Rose a posée d'entrée et qui a fait réagir tous nos panélistes. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Madame Kofi. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen who are online. A reminder that we must have these conversations with the men as well. Ulrich, I'd want to hand over to you for the last part. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oops, my camera doesn't work. Okay, now. Thank you very much, Rose, and thank you very much, esteemed speakers. It has been really intense to read the messages and to listen to your stories. I'm reading the comments. I think it is definitely a topic we should intensify discussion and multiply discussion and really do the ripple effect of our words and ideas that we have here. I think one of the most important questions we have read here is like, how can we connect all the different initiatives? Well, you are actually participating in one of the sessions where we connect the different organizations involved. We are all sister organizations. We all work on the same projects. We are in constant exchange. We exchange on knowledge and people. We exchange on ideas, and we work together on joint programs. So it is in place. Join any of our networks, join all our networks together. So sorry for, I was just meant to be a moderator, and now I start talking because I'm so inspired by your words. I switch over now to the next speakers in our session, where we just present the co-hosts of this session we are attending here. So in my list, I have as a first speaker, Mariette from the Women for Water Partnership, Women for Water Partnership, and please explain in a 1 up to 2 minutes speech what you are going to do in the way forward, the way forward for women in the sector. Thank you very much.
Well, our next step will be Bali. We really want, I think that is something that is important, that women are present at the World Water Forum in Bali. It will happen in May. I mean, there will be a pre-conference in October. We're already working on webinars, and we call that a signpost to Bali. What at the moment is the early fora were also in East Asia. That was Japan and Korea, and they are the more developed countries. Indonesia is Southeast Asia. Countries now, like we're working with Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, they haven't really been on the as a topic of the World Water Forum. So I think if we would like to cover community engagement, gender, local knowledge management, and these themes will hopefully go under governance and cooperation. And we have a group of women and organizations that already join us. We'll have a process in tiers. Tier 1 will be a webinar, Tier 2 a webinar plus an on-site national meeting, and Tier 3 a webinar and an international meeting on-site. So our big issue is, of course, the finances to actually go there, but we are hardworking and presenting women in the water sector, from sanitation to mentoring to everything that is needed to get us well organized. And at the moment, Bali is being organized mainly, I'm very sorry, the organizing team is a male-dominated team. There's only one woman in there, and I think she's making the minutes, but I'm not sure about that. So we have to be present as a female organization to get this better developed. So I hope you will join us there. And
thank you, Marit.
Yes.
Thank you, Marit. I switch over now to the next speaker. I'm sorry, this is really a quick presentation. Speed presenting. So I'm switching over to our next presenter, Sarah Sanchez-Lopez, my colleague from the Women and Water and Sanitation Network. She is she has a background in forestry engineering and environmental water management, and is currently a PhD candidate, and forms part of the steering committee of the Women in Water and Sanitation Network. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Women in Water and Sanitation Network was born in 2019 out of the experience of women working in the sector, as we have been listening through this session. They felt that there's a need to have an international community for female professionals to connect, exchange, and grow together. We want to inspire women to venture in the water and sanitation sector, to challenge the status quo that we have been discussing, and become change agents in the traditionally male-dominated industry, and of course, to support those women who are already part of the sector. We have different work groups, including membership, events, fundraising, training, or communication. We work different building capacity and different topics. In general, the agenda is dictated by our own members and their interests. And in the last years, we have been addressing topics like imposter syndrome. Some of them have been discussed in this session. How to piece yourself, how to deal with other people in the room, and how to get your voice, etc. We have organized some workshops about these topics. We share job offers. We support each other when we have a bad meeting, and we are a very support network among others. You can see here, we don't have so much time, so you can just read. Our aims are obviously to support each other, to create a platform, to be in touch, to maximize the visibilization of all of our members, among others. So please feel free to contact either Ulrich or myself directly, or use the email that you can see here. We are now working in our next event in the World Water Forum, so hopefully we can all meet there, or some of us. And also this evening, there is another event for those that are in the World Water Week. Please drop by in Strong Together at 6. So that's it for us.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm jumping over to our next presenter, Daphne. I'm sorry, your surname is complicated for me. Yes. Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say to all women being in Stockholm tonight, come and join us for our Stronger Together Women's Mingle. It will be at the View at the Scandi Continental in Stockholm. And for anyone not joining or not being in Stockholm, we will also host an online event on the 26th September. So make sure to join that. Otherwise, there will be some future Stronger Together mingles and also an upcoming Susanna blog feature where we are still looking for authors or interested people to write about women in the water sector. So yeah, you can reach out. I will leave my email address in the chat as well. And yeah, hopefully see you later tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Daphne. I have a speaker from Afwasa, Geraldine Lokmo. I'm sorry. Again, I apologize for my bad pronunciation of complicated surnames. Geraldine, it's yours, the floor.
D'accord, merci. Bonsoir, bonjour à tout le monde. Alors, pour ce qui est de l'Association africaine de l'eau et de l'assainissement, à Fouassa, le réseau des femmes dont Laetitia a parlé tout à l'heure, déjà, je dois dire que nous avons eu la chance de pouvoir participer au 9e forum qui s'est tenu en Afrique, au Sénégal, la dernière édition. Et donc, pour ce qui est sur le chemin du 10e forum de Bali 2024, nous entendons effectivement saisir l'opportunité que va nous offrir 2 événements majeurs que nous allons avoir d'ici la fin de l'année et les débuts de l'année prochaine pour nous préparer en tant que réseau africain des femmes qui travaillons dans les sociétés d'eau et d'assainissement pour ce grand événement que sera le 10e forum. Alors, nous avons en premier lieu déjà le conseil scientifique et technologique. Nous nous réunissons au mois de novembre en Guinée-Conakry. Ce sera l'occasion pour nous de commencer notre préparation ou de poursuivre notre préparation. Et puis, il y a le congrès tel que c'est affiché, le 22e congrès de l'Association africaine de l'eau et de l'assainissement qui se tient donc du 18 au 22 février en Guinée-Conakry. Et d'ailleurs, l'appel à la communication vient d'être lancé. Donc, pour nous, ces 2 événements sont en réalité 2 opportunités pour préparer les membres de notre réseau pour contribuer effectivement et faire entendre la voix des femmes africaines pendant le Forum mondial de l'eau à Bali. Donc, autour des thématiques qui sont proposées pendant ce Forum mondial de l'eau, nous allons également travailler avec nos membres. Voilà. Et
Merci, Géraldine. We are running out of time. I'm sorry. Merci beaucoup. We have to switch over to the next speaker and then we have to close. Siri is quite, although generous with the minutes, it's quite strict with the timing now. I would like, it's been very insightful to learn about the activities, and it would be great if we could receive the information about the future activities from all the different organizations to distribute to our participants here. I would like to switch over to Persis Ramirez from IWA, please. 2 minutes maximum.
Thank you so much, Ulrich. So good day, everyone. I am excited to present to you 3 upcoming exceptional opportunities that lie ahead within the International Water Association. The first one is, of course, the Water and Development Congress and Exhibition, which will be taking place in the vibrant city of Kigali, Rwanda. Registrations are open and you can benefit from discounted rates if you register early until the 31st of August. We have the guiding team of this Congress, Water Sanitation and Climate Resilience, Keys to a Water-Wise Future. So on the first day of this Congress, we will also have an Innovation Acceleration Summit, which will set the tone for cutting-edge advancements and fresh perspectives. Another highlight, and in the next slide, is the Inclusive Urban Sanitation Champions Program, which is a platform that was created to honor trailblazers in the sanitation sectors. Nominations for these prestigious awards are open until the 10th of September, and the winners will be awarded at the Congress and Exhibition in Kigali. And finally, as we look ahead for the year 2024, the call for content is officially open for the World Water Congress and Exhibition, which will be taking place in Toronto, Canada. Please make sure to submit as the call for content is now open until the 27th of October of 2023.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have to close now. I give the floor to Rose for the final remarks, and I would like to thank you very much all for your contribution from audience and from speakers. Rose, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for participating. We have been reminded about the need for a holistic system and approaches to address the issues. We agreed that we know that there's a problem and we are challenging ourselves to find a solution. And as we do that, we should also remove the barriers that are hindering the future being the youth, both women and men. As we continue to build capacity and mentor, we should make sure that the good stories are shared and told. And lastly, let's stop talking, get walking, and finally sprint to 2030. Thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming events around the globe, and wish you well in the continuation of the International World Water Week here in Stockholm. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thanks a lot.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Yes, great. Thank you.
Special thanks to all the organizers, the conveners, for the good job. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. We need more time. We need more time. The discussion is too lively for just 60 minutes.
Yeah.
We need really long time.
Yeah. In future, we'll look for sponsors.